Okay, friends. So last time we started discussion about valuation of bonds and stocks, and we've seen some part of this respective chapter. I will go for a quick revision of this chapter that we had discussed earlier, and then we'll move ahead. So, valuation of bond and stocks. These are the various concepts that we're going to learn or understand from this chapter. That various valuation concepts, valuation of bonds, returns from the bond market. These parts, these are the sections that we'll discuss about bond. Then preferred stock valuation, preference stocks, how they are being valued. What are the valuation models for equity? That is dividend discount model and P ratio approach. We'll focus on earning EPS, earning price ratio, and expected return growth and growth. Whereas we'll also see about stock market, the basics of stock market. We've seen these valuation concepts, that liquidation value, going concern value, book value, market value, and intrinsic value. Liquidation value is what is the value of the firm if it gets liquidated. Going concern value, the company is going to be there for a longer period of time. That is going concern value. Book value, when assets are being purchased on its book, so that is known as book value. Market value, the current market value of the company. And intrinsic value, looking to the fundamentals of a company, what should be the exact value of the company, that is known as intrinsic value. Value of a bond, how to calculate the value of a bond. We discussed in the time value of money uh, chapter about the annuity factor. When you are receiving something in a constant cash flow after a regular period of interval, that respective amount is known as annuity. And as it is a future inflow or outflow, if it is a future cash flow to you or cash flow from you, then that will be termed as a then we need to convert that respective future value into present value, and for that we use present value interest annuity factor. Now if you'll see here, your bond will give you two kind of amounts to you. One is the interest rate that you are going to receive by investing in bonds, which is in technical terms known as coupon, and it is known as coupon rate. So coupon interest, it's a future income to you. You're investing today, and company will pay you interest on bonds depending what time period the bond is going to be, and how much amount you are going to receive in future depending on that respective interest rate of the coupon rate of the bond. So C multiplied by PVIFA, rate of interest, and for a certain number of periods. Now C is that is coupon is a constant cash flow to you, and that is why and it's a future cash flow to you, and that is why we are converting them into present value. And as it is a constant cash flow, it does not vary. It is not like a zigzag line. It goes on a constant note. So it is interest annuity factor. Whereas on the other hand, when your respective bond gets mature, the company pay you the maturity value. But as it is one-time amount to you, it's a one-time cash flow. Maybe let's say, for example, a 100 rupees par value bond bearing or carrying a coupon rate of 10 percentage going to be matured after 10 years. So in that case, that 100 rupees will be received after 10 years to you. Whereas 10% of 100 rupees is going to be the coupon rate, and it is going to be received constantly to you. And that is why interest annuity factor. And here it is one time payment at maturity after 10 years, and that is why it is PVIF, present value interest factor, because it is supposed to be received in future, and we are calculating the price as on today. So we need to convert this future value into present value. That is, we need to discount the future value to calculate the present value of the bond. And these are the two cash flows. One is a constant cash flow and another is a one-time cash flow. So we need to convert these two cash flows into present value and we need to add them. So that will give us the price of the bond in the current market and the current period. Let us try to understand with the help of an example. To illustrate how to compute the price of a bond, consider a 10-year 12% coupon bond with par value of 1000. Let us assume that the bond required yield is on this bond is 13% and the cash flow for this bond are as follows. Now see here, it's a 1000 rupee bond carrying a coupon rate of 12%. Your required rate of return on this bond is 13%, and that is why it will all the future cash flows will be discounted at 13% interest rate. 10 annual coupon payments that comes to 120 rupees because it's a 10-year bond, 120 rupees for 12% of 1000 that comes to 120 rupees. So you will be receiving 10 times as it is a 10-year coupon, 10-year bond. You will be receiving 120 rupees for 10 times year after year. 1000 rupees is a principal repayment. Company will be paying you back 1000 rupees when after the end of 10th year. And therefore, the value of the bond is, now you see the formula that we discussed here, C multiplied by PVIFA uh, at a certain rate of interest for certain number of periods plus M into PVIF at a certain rate of interest and for certain period. So this is 120 is the coupon rate, PVIFA calculated at 13% for 10 years, the factor value is 5.426. So 120 multiplied by 5.426. This is the present value of the cash flow that is being received from the in the form of a coupon 10 times. And this is 1000. It's a one-time maturity. After 10 years, at 13%, the factor value is 0.295 and multiplied by 1000. So this is how this will be 651.1 and this will be 295 and this is the present value of the bond. So we are adding two cash flows. We are adding the annuity cash flow. We are converting them into the present value, discounting at our required rate of return, and we are also discounting the maturity value at the required rate of return and for a certain number of years that is given. Let's say here it is 10 years. So when we add the present value of these two cash flows, we can be able to find out the present cash value of the respective bond. Now, instead of that, if I say it's a semi-annual interest bond, that means you are receiving interest two times in a year. Coupon rate remains same, but the same amount is being paid into two installments. So it's a semi-annual interest rate. If the interest is paid to you four times in a year, that is a quarterly, in that case it will be C by 4. So whenever your time period is getting increased, you will be dividing this. See, company do not pay you 12% every time. Company is supposed to make your payment of 12% for one time in a year. Now, if company is making payment two times, that means the semi-annual interest bond, it is supposed to be divided by 2. If it is a quarterly interest payment, then it is supposed to be divided by 4. The total amount of coupon will not change. The total amount of coupon per year is going to remain as it was, as it is. That is 12% of 1000 rupees. I am taking the example from the previous example calculated. Plus maturity. That is the maturity value. Now, when you are dividing this into the given time period, given time of interest rate, how many times you are going to receive the interest rate, your R will be also divided and your T will be multiplied. Here it is going to be multiplied. So you need to understand if I am number of periods of payment will increase. If the company is giving semi-annually 10 years, so here company is making two times payment and company will make payment for 10 years. Company is going to make two times payment every year, and so N is going to be 2N. That means 20. R was 13 percentage in the previous example. Now it will become 13 divided by 2. Okay, and this is how you can be able to calculate. The rest all things remain same. Just the thing it changes is the coupon rate. That means now it is half. The required rate of return will be also half, and your time period will get increased. If it is a semi-annual, if it is a quarterly, then it will be divided by 4. It will be divided by 4, and it will be multiplied by 4. Same will be applied to the other part of the calculation. This is an example given. 8-year 12% coupon bond with a par value of 100 on which interest is payable semi-annually. The required rate of return is 14%. See, it's a 8-year bond. Interest payable semi-annually. That means every year company is going to make a payment 2 times. Company is going to pay you 12% total, but in 2 equal installments. Let us say equal installments. So it becomes 1200 rupees bond, 12% interest, that comes to 12 rupees per year. Now as it is paid semi-annually, it will be 12 divided by 2, that comes to 6. So every time company is going to make your payment of 6 rupees every 6 months. So if it is a 8-year bond and company is making 2 times payment in a year, the total number of periods are going to be 16 instead of 8 now. So it will, when you are calculating the interest factor, take n is equal to 16 because it is going to be multiplied by 2 because every year company is paying 2 times bond, 2 times coupon rate. So if we go to this respective equation, it is being applied here. 6 rupees, that is the coupon rate, multiplied by present value interest fact annuity factor. Now if you see here, it's a 14% is the required rate of return for 1 year, but here it is being calculated twice. So required rate of return is going to be half because coupon rate is half, and that is why interest rate required rate of return should also be reduced. So here it is 14 divided by 2, that comes to 7 percentage, and as I told you, it will be 8 multiplied by 2 becomes 16. So here it is 16. So present value interest annuity factor for 7 percentage in 16 years is 9.447, and as we discussed, it's a 12% coupon bond, 12% coupon and par of 100 rupees, which becomes 12 rupees, but it is paid semi-annually, so it is 6. So multiplied by 6. In the same way, company will be paying you back 100 rupees at the maturity. Present value interest factor and not annuity here. Remember, this is a one-time payment only. So 7 percentage, we've taken the 7 percentage because 14% is the required rate of return, and the payment is made semi-annually, so it becomes divided by 2, and n is 16. So 8 multiplied by 2, that is 16. So this is your entire value of your coupon in the bond in the present time, that is 90.6. So this is the relationship. If premium, then the required rate of return is going to be reduced. If it is par, then it will be same, and if it is the price of the bond is at discount, the return will be more from the bond. So this is a price-yield relationship. We discussed this. Coupon rate is greater than required return. The price will be greater than par, and that will be known as a premium bond. Coupon rate is equal to, not greater than, but equal to required yield. It is price is equal to par. The current price will be equal to the par value. And if coupon rate is less than the required return, the price will be less than the par value, and the bond will be known as a discounted bond. This is the relationship of price and yield. Price is very high, return is very low. When price reduces, return increases, right? And if we go with the time, whatever the bond is at present here, let's say at here, at a point when it is nearby to maturity, your bond is going to be traded at par only. So if it is a discount bond, As time goes on, the discount bond will move on. The discount is going to get reduced, and it will be traded at maturity. On maturity, it will be traded at par. In the same way, if it is a premium bond, in that case, you will see that the premium is getting reduced, the benefit is getting reduced, the price is getting reduced, and it will be on maturity, it will be equal to its par value. So this is price changes with time. Bond price theorems, bond price and yields move in opposite direction. As we see here, bond price and yields, it will go to this respective graph. You can be able to see the price of the bond and the return from the bond. Both have a negative relationship. If price is too high, return will be too less. If price is too less, return will be high. Bond prices are more sensitive to yield changes the longer the maturity. If the maturity period is long enough, is longer compared to other instruments. In that case, the price of the bond and the return from the bond is more sensitive. The price sensitivity of bonds to yield changes increases at a decreasing rate with maturity. So whenever you are near reaching towards the maturity, your bond return is going to change, but it increases at a decreasing rate. High coupon bond prices are less sensitive to yield changes than low coupon bonds. High coupon bonds, high interest bearing bonds are less sensitive to return compared to low coupon bonds. With the change in yield of a given number of basis points, the associated percent gain is larger than the percentage loss. Bond yields, returns, how to calculate the various return formulas. So current yield is equal to annual interest rate divided by price. If I want to find out what is my current return from the bond, I will be simply dividing annual interest. Annual interest, remember, it's coupon rate. Coupon rate divided by price. So I will get my current yield or current return. Yield to maturity. This is a approximation formula for yield to maturity. YTM is equal to coupon rate plus maturity minus par value, that is market value minus par value, divided by N. N is the number of periods. Remember, if it is a single coupon bond, then the maturity holding period is going to be your N. If it is paid semi-annually, then N will be multiplied by 2. And here it is 0.40 percentage of market value plus 0.60 percentage of par value. So this is how it's calculated, your respective yield to maturity. That means return till the time of maturity. If I'm buying a bond today, and if the bond is of 10 years and I want to be there for 10 complete years, I'm not going to trade it anywhere. I'm not going to sell it to anybody else in between that maturity period. That means I'm going to be with the bond till it matures. So at maturity, what will be my return that is being calculated in yield to maturity. Yield to call. Remember, in bond market, companies have a feature of redeeming the bond before maturity. Company can do that. It means it will be known as a call feature. So whenever company finds that companies have enough sufficient cash to repay the debt, company may immediately call immediately call the bond back and can redeem your respective or repay your respective debt. And in that case, yield to call is C divided by your discount value for a given period of time, and M divided by the maturity value divided by the discounted value at a certain rate of interest for a certain period. These are the realized yield to maturity. Generally, what happens when you are investing somewhere and you're getting return every year, so you may want to be generate more income from that respective return, and you may invest it to some another assets, and you may generate certain rate of interest from that respective asset also. That means you're earning interest from the interest amount that is being received by you from the bond. So if I say my investment is in the beginning of the year is 850 rupees, and annual interest is given. So if I'm investing here, it's a 5-year bond. I'm going to receive 150 rupees every year. Reinvestment period. Now, at the end when I'm receiving this 150 rupees, at the end of the year when I'm receiving 150 rupees, so what happens? I can reinvest, but reinvesting it will give me only 4 years. So 43210, it will be invested over 4 years. So it will be reinvested for 4 years, and it will reduce the investment period will reduce as your maturity period is going coming closer. Compounding factor. So if I am investing it for 4 years, I am going to generate certain rate of interest. Let's say it is 16 percentage, so that it will be compounded 16 percentage annually, and this is the compounding rate, that is the future value. It is invested and it will redeem at a certain time period. So it will be future value of the intermediate cash flows, and your maturity value is 1000 rupees. So this is how your entire cash flow will be calculated. That means you are reinvesting the interest generated from your investment, and your return to maturity, your realized return to the maturity is 19%. That means 2032 is the amount that you are receiving after 5 years, divided by your initial investment, that is this one. So it is 2391. So when you will go back to your respective table of value tables, you will find it is 19%. This is how your respective debt market will look like on NSE. So here you will find the type of security. It is a government security. Security name will be there. Issue name will be there. Trade type is the number of trades, how many trade are taking place at the current period of time. Trade value, what is the price, low price, high price, and last traded price. And this is yield to maturity is calculated. It's a system calculated. So if you'll see, it will give you all these ideas. Valuation of preference stock. So we had completed here the bond section. We are moving to preference stock. Now, what is preference stock? Let us first discuss that, and then we'll discuss the valuation of preference stock. Preference stock is a kind of equity, but it is having certain more benefits compared to the equities shares. Like they will be receiving interest first compared to the equity holders. They will be able to claim the liability before the equity holders claim. So that is the benefit. It can be called off any point of time. Your preference stocks dividend is also generated every year. So these are the benefits. Whereas equity shareholders we talk about, it is not necessary that every year company will pay you dividend. Whereas in preference stockholders, company is liable to pay dividend every year. So that is a benefit. So here it is again, if you'll see this respective path, you will find two paths. How it is being calculated, the value of preference stock. The value of preference stock is again divided into two parts. One is the cash flow that is being received from the dividend, and the another one is the at the time of maturity. So since the stream of dividend in an ordinary annuity, we can apply the formula of present value of ordinary annuity. Hence, the value of the preference stock is, this is how it will be calculated. P0 is the price at current time period, zero time period. PVIFA, as it is a cash constant cash flow. It is not fluctuating. So it's a constant cash flow, and that is why annuity is calculated. R of preference stock, and N is the number of periods, plus the maturity value at whatever time it will mature, as it is a one-time amount only. So PVIF, R, that is rate of interest of preference stock, and N. So to illustrate how to compute the value of a preference stock, consider a 8-year 10% preference stock with a par value of 1000, and the required rate of return on this preference stock is 9%. So 10% is the par, 10% preference stock is 10% is the dividend amount that company is supposed to make you, pay you every year. It's the interest amount company will pay you every year. If the par value of the bond is 1000, then interest amount comes to 100 rupees. Maturity period is 8 years and the required rate of return from the preference stock is 9%. So when you will be discounting these future values into present value, you will have to discount them at 9% because as it is the your required rate of return. The value of preference stock will be 100 rupees. Remember, we talked here that it's a 1000 rupee preference stock at 10%. So 10 multiplied by 1000 comes to 100 rupees. 10% multiplied by 1000. 100 rupees. Now, this is where we'll keep this 100 rupees. Put this 100 rupees. Multiplied by present value interest annuity factor. When I am calculating the present value, I will be using the discounting method, and here it is 9% is the value at which I will discount at for 8 years. So here it is 9% 8 years and plus 1000. Remember, this is 1000 is the maturity value. At the end of 8 year, company is supposed to make a payment of 1000 rupees to me as I have invested in a 1000 rupee bond. So 1000 rupees is going to be matured at the end of 8 years. And along with that, this respective amount is going to be received in future. We need to convert this amount into present value. And for converting present value, we'll discount this value at 9% for 8 year. And not for all 8 years, but for 8 year only, because it is a cash inflow at the end of 8 year. So it is 1000 multiplied by present value interest factor 9% 8 years. And when you will calculate the interest annuity factor for 8 years at 9%, it is 5.535. You can check out this value in the present value interest annuity factor table given at the end of the book. It is 5.535 multiplied by 100 rupees, and this is 1000. Present value interest factor is 9%. 9%, 8 years, it comes to 0.502. So it is, when you will add these values, it is 1110.5. These are the various discounting models for preference stocks. It's a single period valuation. The second is a multi-period valuation, zero growth model, and constant growth model. Single period valuation, you will see it is D divided by D1. That is D1 is dividend for next year, right? And P1 is price at the end of 1 year. So D1 divided by 1 plus R, and here also it is 1 plus R. Multi-period valuation is dividend for a T time period. If it is, let's say it is going to be ended at the end of 8th year, then it should be 8 dividend 8 at the end of 8th year, and T divided by discounted at the time period rate of interest and at a certain time period. Zero growth model, if there is no growth at all, in that case it will be P0 is equal to D, that is dividend divided by R, your required rate of return. And constant growth model, the P0 is equal to D1 divided by R, that is your required rate of return, minus G, that is a growth. So if it is a constant growth model, these are the 4 different valuation methods with the help of which we can be able to calculate the dividend value. We can be able to discount the dividend. Two-stage growth model. This two-stage growth model can be explained with the help of this and this respective formula. This is nothing but this is the price of your stock at a certain point of time divided by R minus G2 multiplied by the factor value 1 divided by 1 plus R raised to n. This is the present value interest factor. So this value is supposed to be multiplied by the present value interest factor. And this is we had discussed in our time value of money formula, money chapter, that if there's a growth connected to any of your cash flow, then it is supposed to be calculated in this way. two-stage growth model. Let us see and understand what two-stage growth model is to be and how it is calculated. So if we'll see here, the current dividend of an equity share of Vertigo Limited is 2 rupees. That is current dividend. Current dividend is D0. And if I want to calculate D1, I will be multiplying the growth to this D0. So here it is calculated. D1 is equal to D0 multiplied by 1 plus G1, as it is 2 times growth is given. Two-stage growth model is that is why it is G1. And 2 rupees multiplied by 20 percentage, it is to 1.20. That comes to 2.40. So the dividend is growing by 20 percentage. So it is 2 rupees dividend, current dividend. Vertigo is expected to enjoy above normal growth rate of 20% for a period of 6 years. So in the beginning of six years, in the beginning up to 6 years, company is going to enjoy a growth rate of 20% every year. So dividend will rise by 20% every year. That means if my D1 is 2.40, so my D2, that is dividend in the second year, will be 2.40 multiplied by 1.20. It will rise by 20%. Thereafter, the growth rate will fall and stabilize at 10%. So up to 6 years, the growth rate is 20%, and after that, it is going to be stabilized at 10%. That means from 7th year onwards, it will be 10%. Equity investor require a return of 15%. So this is the required rate of return of investors, 15%. Calculate the intrinsic value of the equity share of Vertigo, and we need to calculate the price of this respective company's preference shares by putting all these values. So if we'll see here, it is D1, P0 is equal to D1 multiplied by 1 plus 1 plus G divided by 1 plus R. It will go back to this formula. This is what it is given. 1 plus G1 divided by 1 plus R raised to N. Now raised to N is 6. Why 6? Because for first 6 years, your interest rate is, your coupon rate, your growth rate is going to be 20%. So we are calculating it for the first 6 years only. What will be the value in the beginning of the first 6 years? So your D1 will be immediately converting itself into D6, right? So divided by R minus G, your required rate of return was given 15% and growth is 20%. So 15% minus 20%. This will come to 13.968. And moving ahead, calculating the second part, 2.40 is D1 multiplied by your growth rate raised to 5 multiplied by your initial growth rate, second stage growth rate. So 0.15 R minus G minus 0.10 multiplied by present value interest factor for 15% for 6th year. And here it will be calculated in this way, and your amount will come to 65.289, and this is the value.